The OnePlus Buds 4 is hands down one of the best $100 earbuds of 2025, featuring killer ANC and incredible sound quality. Shh. Let's skip the PR talk. This is Tearbuds. Today, we are only answering one question. Exactly how much of your hard-earned cash is OnePlus pocketing? If you know the TWS market, you probably know this open secret. OnePlus, Oppo, and Realme are basically copying each other's homework. Just look at the OnePlus Buds 4, the Oppo Enco Free 4, and the Realme Air 7 Pro. Same driver, same level ANC, and same battery. All they do just swap the shell and tweak the tuning. But this year, the release of the Realme L8 completely blows my mind. At literally half the price of the OnePlus Buds 4, it delivers exact same performance, and actually beats in the sounds and battery life. The sheer terror of these is like walking a shift at McDonald's and finding out the new robot next to you is twice as fast. But it's just getting worse. When you depressed off your shift, the same robot will literally sit by the dumpster in the back alley and share the beat with you. So, what is really going on here? Is OnePlus just getting fat on 200% profit margin, or did Realme crack some crazy supply chain magic to cut the BOM cost? Let's find out. Before we get into the individual companions, I gotta say, if you're just trying to pry open your earbuds to swap the battery, do not copy my way of teardown. I don't need to put this back together, but maybe you do. Let's kick things off with OnePlus Buds 4. From a repairability standpoint, these are your textbook "we don't want you to fix these" type earbuds. When you're tearing down the charging case, you're almost guaranteed to destroy hinge structure unless you meticulously extract hinge first before removing the rest. But yeah, we're not doing this time. Anyway, popping out the battery and the PCB board, you can see the overall internal structure of the Buds 4 is incredibly tight. The protection is spot on. Not only do they use the physical hot isolation so the different functional areas don't interfere with each other, but you can also see the conformal coating on the crucial components like the power management IC, stepping up the safety and the reliability. Pulling back the protective sponge on the battery, we find a 530 mAh cells from the VDL Chongqing. These guys are an absolute top-tier player in the TWS battery space. Honestly, 530 mAh is a pretty massive capacity for the charging case. This is a dead giveaway that both the LHDC codec and OnePlus's active noise cancellation are serious power hogs. And we can see this PMIC, or you can call it a power management IC. It's from the ETA. The charging case MCU is a CM-S8S5889 from the CM Semicon. This is basically the powerhouse combo. That means they really didn't skimp on the material here. And there's cool little detail here. At the very end of this flexible rubber cable, there is a super tiny component. Pop quiz. What is this? Drop your guesses in the comments. I will give you a hint. You probably won't find this in earbuds from Sony or Bose, but almost every pair made by the smartphone brand will have it. Moving to the earbuds cavity, OnePlus actually made this relatively easy to crack open. They didn't go crazy with the glue. Once it's open, and again, a friendly reminder, don't follow my lead if you are just swapping a battery. We can get earbuds battery. And then we need to open this Steam section. And with that, the Buds 4 teardown is basically done. Just ignore the fact that I just broke the PCB board by accident. The SoC on the Buds 4 is housed right here in the Steam. As you can see, it's rocking a BES2710Z chip from the BES Technics. So the 2710 series is a BES Technics 2025 flagship Bluetooth line. But beware this Z suffix. It means this is an exclusive, customized tailored chip. I think this makes total sense. The Buds 4 made massive leap in the ANC algorithm in 2025, plus it still handles the stable LHDC decoding and all those app features simultaneously. The custom shift was just basically unavoidable. But spoiler alert, there is a surprise regarding this when we look at the Realme L8 later. Down into the steams, we also find two MEMS microphones here. One dedicated to the voice calls, and other acts as the feed-forward mic for ANC. Interestingly, the mic hole on the Buds 4 is placed right on the top, creating a 90-degree shear angle with the airflow. In theory, this should offer a great wind noise reduction. But in reality, it's kind of one of the Buds 4's biggest blunders. You see, outdoor wind is chaotic, meaning the wind resistance performance ends up being pretty unstable. There are 3 mics in total on the Buds 4. The last one is tucked way near the driver, right by the nozzle, acting as a feedback mic. For the earbuds battery, we're looking at 62 mAh punch cell, also from the video company. It's worth pointing out that this is probably one of the largest capacity batteries you can find inside an earbuds right now. Well, again, this just proves that living up this ANC algorithm comes up at the heavy cost of the power consumptions. After pulling the battery, hitting with the heat gun to soften the gloom, and digging a bit deeper, we finally reached the driver unit. This is the mature coaxium dual driver setup that OnePlus, Oppo, and Realme have been perfecting. Let's geek out on this tech for a second. First, check out this tiny 6mm planar magnetic driver. Wrapped it with the heat gun, but it was originally perfect front. Beneath it is something you will all recognize, a standard 11mm dynamic driver. Well, you might think that planar driver looks a lot like traditional dynamic driver here, right? This is exactly the genius of this coaxial design. Shaping the planar membrane like the dynamic driver and stacking them saves a massive amount of internal space and makes wiring way easier. But fundamentally, unlike the point driver dynamic driver, a planar is a surface driver. Simply put, when current flows, the entire planar membrane moves uniformly as a flat surface. A dynamic driver, on the other hand, is driven from the center, creating ripples outwards like the drop of water in the pond. Because of these, the standard planar driver usually looks more like balanced armatures, little rectangular middle boxes. This coaxial stacking was specifically developed to keep the driver footprints tiny. Now, stacking them like this should theoretically cause some serious frequency interference. And that right there is where the Oppo acoustic team flexed their tuning muscles. So take a look at my ultimate bill of materials estimates for the OnePlus Buds 4. Keep in mind, there is a margin of the error here. So take it as a solid, educated guesses. By the way, a quick note on tariffs and the warehousing for my viewers in the US. The shipping and tax costs I calculate here apply to other regions. If these are shipping to your country, you can probably multiply that specific logistic cost by about 4. As for who to blame for that, well, you guys know the drill. Overall, the internal engineering of the Buds 4 is exquisitely done. The earbud cavity uses a ton of flexible FPC ribbon cable to link everything up, which is an expensive design choices. Between the customized silicon and the planar driver and intricate layout, the R&D cost for the Buds 4 had to be through the roof. But I'd say it was totally worth it for the Oppo and the OnePlus. After all, if anyone asked for the great sub $100 earbuds last year, the Buds 4 was almost guaranteed to be in the conversation. But that brings us to the big questions. How does the Realme L8 manage to match the performance of the Buds 4? For the sake of time, we were skipping the L8 teardown montage and jump straight into the hardware showdown. First off, the exterior of the Realme L8 definitely deserves a shout-out. They actually slapped a piece of leather on the front, and it's not just for aesthetics. Between the beveled edge and that front leather panel, the L8 has incredible scratch resistance. Internally, the L8 circuitry has been completely redesigned. It's quite different from the Buds 4. The battery capacity and the microphone count remains exactly the same. The major divergence is in the acoustics. Instead of the planar drivers, Realme opted for a 60mm dynamic driver paired with an 11mm dynamic driver in the dual coaxium setup. And for the SoC chips, they went with a standard BS Technic BS2710 IHC. No expensive customized silicon here. Also, the mic placement is totally different from the OnePlus. Realme uses a classical air-shaped dock design, with the mic opening positioned on the rear side of the stick. From all this, we can conclude that Realme heavily optimized their algorithms. Why is that so? Because with the nearly identical ANC performance, the L8 gave me at least 30% more battery life compared to the OnePlus Buds 4. And since they didn't need customer chips, it means their refined code reduced the processing load, allowed them to use a cheaper, off-the-shelf SoC. As for the driver switch and the new mic dock, well, in my book, these are widely successful iterations. The L8's treble is fantastic, and the bass dynamic are punchy, and overall sound signature is much more relaxed, and completely sidestepped Buds 4's high frequencies harshness. Plus, the wind noise resistance is noticeably better, heavily thanks to that L-shaped dock. Now, looking at my BOM estimate for the L8, turning off the standard chip, the dual dynamic drivers, batteries, mics, and the rest, we are looking at a total hardware cost of roughly $50. And the retail price, well, just for $49. Looking at today's tier list, the pure hardware cost differences between the Buds 4 and the L8 isn't actually that massive. But if you factor in initial R&D costs, it's a whole nother story. Well, you could honestly say that it's because of the heavy R&D groundwork laid by the OnePlus Buds 4 that the Realme L8 can achieve the same, if not better, results at a much lower cost. For 2026 buyers' perspective, I highly recommend everyone give the Realme L8 a shot. In what is essentially an upgrade Buds 4 for less money, I can't think of the single reason to say no. Finally, let's jump straight into the audio and ANC comparison so you can hear the differences for yourselves. For me personally, the L8's low end is just incredibly comfortable to listen to, and instrument separation and vocal textures are super satisfying. Let me know in the comments which earbuds you want me to tear down next. Enjoy the sound test, see you around.